Tucked up right against the Sahuarita Mountains is going to be Corona de Tucson, and this is episode 4 of our community tour. This community is so popular because of two things. Number one, the Vail Unified School District, one of the top-ranked school districts in all of the state. And number two, for what it doesn't have. Corona de Tucson is separated from Tucson. It's its own little world, and you're not amongst the hustle and bustle. You don't feel like you're in the city, and the views are gorgeous because there's mountains all around you and nothing but blue skies. My name is Mason, and I'm a real estate agent here in Southern Arizona. Today, we're going to cover Corona de Tucson. This is in Vail, 85641 zip code. And if you're looking at a map, you're going to want to go south of the 10 freeway. And if you find the intersection of Houghton and Sahuarita Road and look south, then you found Corona. Now, just to give you a better lay of the land, I want to zoom out a little bit. So if you zoom out on a map, again, keeping in mind where that intersection is, and you look at the 10 freeway, the 10 freeway cuts Vail about in half. So you have everything north of the freeway and everything south. And I will tell you, being in that same zip code and north and south of the freeway are two different worlds entirely. Corona de Tucson is one of the most southern parts of Vail. Again, it is a zip code 85641 in the Vail School District, and in total it's about 7.5 square miles. Although you can find some properties that date back to the early 1900s, most of them are going to be anywhere from 1970 to today. But a majority of the homes in Corona were started during 1970 and 1990, and that's when Corona saw a lot of development and really had a lot of interesting things added to it. Being a relatively new town, in 1980, Sahuarita Road, which connects Green Valley, Sahuarita, to Vail and Highway 83, Sonoita Highway, Sahuarita Road was built and finished in 1980 and in the 80s. So it's, again, not terribly old, and that is a main thoroughfare, a main artery from Corona to the east and west parts of town. Now, here's what Corona does not have. You're not going to find Target, Costco, Home Depot. You're not going to find shopping. You're not going to find barbershops. You're not going to find a lot of common stores in Corona, and that's by design. Corona feels rural. Corona feels a bit separated from the rest of Tucson, even a different part of Vail, and that's part of the draw. Not only are you up against the Sahuarita Mountains, but you're also tucked up against the Coronado National Forest. So amongst all the homes there on east, west, and the south, you're going to be protected against state land, and there's going to be no development there for years to come. So that's why I say the views are plentiful, and there's a lot of open land in Corona. In comparison, if you look at the other side of Vail, we'll just call it north of the 10 freeway, that's where you're going to have a lot of the subdivisions, a lot of the homes crammed into a small area. You're going to have your markets, your grocery stores, your dentists, your barbershops, your salons, your nail stores. You're going to have all the fast food you could want north of the 10 in Vail. So again, going back to Corona, you have open space. You have lots of properties that have acreage, horse properties, trailers, RVs, dirt bikes, side-by-sides, you name it. It is very easy to find property with acreage, or you can also go towards the subdivisions as well, as there's a lot of new builds being built in Corona. Now, as I've said in my previous videos, this video is not to look at any one particular home or neighborhood. This is to shed light on the community. But I do want to touch on the housing and give you an idea of what the homes look like in and around Corona. I went back 1 year to find the most expensive and the least expensive homes sold in those 12 months. The least expensive or most affordable home that sold in Corona de Tucson over the last 12 months closed at $242,000. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and just above 1,200 square feet. Now, on the other end of that is the most expensive home, and this home sold for $1,027,000. It is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath at 2,873 square feet. It sat on 5 acres, and that was the most expensive home sold in the last 12 months. Circling back to the age of homes, I went back 10 years, and the oldest home, it's a fairly notable ranch that was sold, was built in 1922. Now, you're not going to find many of those homes or those ages of homes. You're going to find at the earliest about 1962, 1960 era homes, and anything newer than that. What I want to showcase here are 3 different types of neighborhoods when it comes to ages of homes. Number one is going to be your homes anywhere from the 1960s to the 1980s. A majority of these are going to be brick, single-story ranch-style homes. Now, you do have some stucco frame homes, but for the most part, you're going to have your single-story brick homes here in Corona. In the middle, you're going to have a handful of homes built in the 90s to the 2000s. And again, these are going to be your standard stucco frame homes, single-story, two-story, right next to your neighbor. plenty of those throughout Corona de Tucson as well. And lastly, you have your new builds, and there's a lot of development going all around Vail, but specifically Corona de Tucson. And I will say, some of the areas that these new builds are being built in really take advantage of the views of the mountains. And it's nice, even though you're in these cookie cutter neighborhoods, you do feel disconnected. You do feel like you're getting some value because you have great views of the mountains. We all know that it rains a bit more and maybe gets a little bit more snow up against the Sahuarita Mountains. So you do get more seasons, you get more climate change. Quite frankly, it's beautiful out there, whether it's the sunrise or the sunset. So it's not a knock against the new builds, even though there's plenty of negative there. There is a lot of development going on, and they're far from being finished. Some of the builders, just to note, that are there are going to be Lennar, Richmond American, D.R. Horton, and Meritage Homes. For those interested in the statistics, Corona de Tucson sits at about 10,000 families. As of 2020, I believe it was almost 9,000. Fast forward 5 years, there's definitely been a big surge and migration to Corona. And Corona de Tucson also sits at 3,200 feet above sea level. Next are schools, a very popular topic for those trying to get into the Vail School District, which is nationally and highly ranked in the state of Arizona. And in Corona de Tucson, you're going to have 2 elementary schools. Number 1 is Sycamore Elementary, and number 2 is Copper Ridge Elementary. Now, these are in Corona de Tucson. Your middle school is going to be Corona Foothills Middle School, again in Corona. And then you have 2 high schools, and these are just north on Houghton. So again, if you zoom out, you follow Houghton north, you're going to run into Andrada and Pantano High School. Now, these are on the same property, so you're going to see both of them right next to each other. One notable and cool thing about Corona is in 1996, there was a large movie filmed at the now defunct golf course. It was called Tin Cup. It is about golf. Personally, golf is not my thing. I've never seen it. I don't have a review for you, but you'll often hear that there was a movie filmed on the Sahuarita Golf Club golf course. Again, that golf course is no longer operational. Plenty of walking paths through it, lots of overgrown brush, but it is no longer operational. Lastly, I want to highlight just a few things. Now, I too live in Vail. I don't live in Corona, but I go there often. You're going to find that one of the main focal points for Corona is going to be the Roadrunner gas station. And I point that out specifically because in and around there, you're going to have a lot of, maybe not a lot, a handful of local businesses to include Ace Hardware, a nice Italian restaurant, a couple other places that offer services. But the Roadrunner really services and is known in and around Corona because that's your local neighborhood gas station, your snack store. You have your Ace Hardware, your local hardware store. Because outside of that, and of course, I'm always going to point out the good, the bad, the pros, the cons. Outside of the Roadrunner, and that is at the intersection of Sahuarita and Houghton, anything else you want is going to be a little bit of a drive. So if you don't mind driving and commuting, you're about 20 minutes away from the nearest grocery store. You're again another 20 minutes away from Walmart, Petco, Home Depot, the nail salon, the hair salon. And if you want to go to Target or Costco, you're about 30 to maybe 40 minutes, depending on traffic, to your nearest Target or Costco. What does make living in Corona easier is that you're so close to the 10 freeway. And the 10 freeway, which almost splits Tucson in half, takes you just about anywhere you need to go. So not only do you have the 10 freeway, you have Houghton, which takes you all the way up Tucson's east side. Again, there's pretty much everything you could possibly want on Houghton Road. So if you're worried about commute, and I will note Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, you're a good probably 40 minutes away from Davis-Monthan. Now, there are multiple gates to get there, but depending on the day and the hour you commute, it might be the longer drive to the front of the base. So again, if you're commute conscious and you like or don't like driving, be sure to plan out and kind of map where things are according to where you live and what that commute might be like. Now, I can't mention the area without mentioning the Pima County Fairgrounds. So you are just a stone's throw away from the Pima County Fairgrounds. And there you're going to find tons of things to do. There's a drag strip. There's monster truck derbies there. There are plenty of racing events there at I believe it's the Honda track. The Pima County Fair is there. The reptile show that comes every year. There's multiple gun shows that are hosted there every year. The Pima County Fairgrounds is very cool to have in your backyard. And if you're in Vail, you've definitely passed by it numerous times. So again, it's nice to have that as a short commute and easy access when there's events going on at the Pima County Fairgrounds. Now, lastly, I want to give you my 2 cents about Corona. I think it's beautiful out there. it does make me feel a little off about all the building and cramming the homes in there, because when I think of Corona de Tucson, I think of open space, I think of great views, I think of peace and quiet. So as much as I love new builds and development, I can see how it's definitely getting congested in Corona de Tucson, but I think you can probably say that about tons of different areas around the United States. It's inevitable. More families are going to move there. People are going to move and sell and buy, so the housing demand is needed. But again, if you're going to Corona, it's probably because you want some peace and quiet. Maybe you want some space around you. Maybe you really like taking in nature and the surrounding areas. And this last piece came to mind, and I'm very glad I thought about it. Again, let's look at the map. So if you're looking at Corona and you go just east and look at Highway 83, Sonoita Highway, and you follow that south for maybe about 30 minutes, you're going to find Sonoita and Patagonia. And those two towns are beautiful. Very wide open, very natural. And specifically to Patagonia, you also have access to Patagonia State Lake. We've been there a number of times. It is beautiful during the summer. I can't say enough good things about it. So if you want easy access to both the city, but not feel like you're in the city, Corona's for you. And if you want easy access to everything that Southern Arizona has to offer in regards to nature and sightseeing and just beautiful areas, Corona's also for you. I personally hate driving, so I don't know if I would move out there strictly because of the commute. But again, that's probably my biggest negative or knock on the area. It is a wonderful place. It is in Vail School District, so you're going to have plenty of options, plenty of great schools, and really I just have way more positive things to say than negative about Corona de Tucson. If you guys are curious about any other neighborhood or you're searching from afar, I'd be happy to talk and do some homework for you on whatever community you're interested in. Again, these videos serve families that are shopping from afar, whether it be out of state, out of country, or even just across town. Hopefully this gives you some insight into what day-to-day life, into what housing looks like here. And again, if I missed something, please let me know. I'd be happy to cover it next time. Thank you guys for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do a lot of videos like this, and I have a long list of communities to come. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next video.